We've all met them. Those people who just seem overwhelmingly confident. But something about it just feels a little off. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and deconstruct that facade of certainty to see what's really going on under the surface. Just for a second, picture that person from your work, or maybe in your friend group, the one who's just a little too loud, a little too sure of themselves. What are they really hiding behind that mask?
And this, right here, is the central conflict. On the outside, what you see is a performance, this dominant, assertive show of total certainty. But on the inside, the reality is often a swirling mix of fear, anxiety, and that deep, nagging feeling of being not enough. That gap between what we see and what they feel, that's where it all gets really interesting. So how do we even begin to make sense of this gap? We're going to use a pretty brilliant framework to do it. Think of it like an architect's blueprint for building an authentic self. It's a concept called the coherent nexus.
So what in the world is the coherent nexus? Well, it's pretty simple actually. It's the perfect alignment of three core parts of you. What you truly feel, that's your heart. What you strategically think, that's your head. And what you actually do out in the world, that's your action. When those three are all singing the same tune, that's where you find genuine strength. That's signal clarity.
Let's break this down. It all starts with the heart. This is your raw, unfiltered emotional center. It's not trying to be anything, it just is. And for that overconfident person we're talking about, that core feeling deep down might just be a powerful sense of, I am not enough.
Okay, so then the head kicks in. The head is the strategist, the protector. It feels the heart's vulnerability and immediately cooks up a plan to hide it. The thinking goes something like this. Okay, if I feel like I'm not enough, then I must act dominant to hide that fear from everyone. It's a pure defense mechanism.
And that strategy from the head? Well, it leads directly to the action, the external behavior that the rest of us actually see. This is where that overly assertive, loud, and controlling performance comes from. It's the end result of the head's game plan to mask what the heart is truly feeling.
Now look what happens. When these three parts, heart, head, and action, are all pointing in different directions, it creates what's called incoherence. It's like the frequencies are all jamming each other. It creates this kind of social static or noise. We can't always put our finger on it, but we can all feel when something is off with someone, can't we?
So why? Why do people build these flawed facades to begin with? And maybe more importantly, what's the real cost of keeping them up? Let's dive in and take a closer look at the cracks in that foundation.
Well, it usually boils down to three main reasons. First, it's a protection mechanism. It's this flawed belief, often learned way back when, that vulnerability equals weakness. Second, it's about modeling the wrong idols, confusing loud, aggressive dominance with actual leadership. And third, and this one is deep, there's a real fear of the void. A terror that if they stop the act, they'll be rejected, or even worse, discover there's nothing left underneath.
And the internal cost of this, it's absolutely massive. I mean, it is just plain exhausting to wear a mask 24/7. It creates this constant internal stress called cognitive dissonance, a battle between who you really are and who you're pretending to be. And here's the crazy part. Every time they succeed while wearing the mask, it just makes their imposter syndrome worse, deepening that fear of being found out.
So how does the rest of the world respond to all this static? Honestly, not well. We humans are like walking lie detectors. We sense that incoherence, and it makes us pull back. It creates a loss of trust, so instead of attracting people, this forced behavior usually ends up repelling them, making any kind of deep, meaningful connection basically impossible.
Okay, enough with the theory, let's make this super practical. We're going to look at three classic archetypes, three very common masks that people wear to hide their insecurity. You're going to recognize these.
First up, the micromanager. You know the one. In their heart, what they're really feeling is a deep, gripping fear of losing control, of not being good enough to lead. So their head comes up with a strategy. If I am hard, if I control everything, then they will respect me. And the resulting action? This dominant, suffocating behavior that just crushes creativity and destroys any trust in the team.
Next, we have the social joker. Oh, we all know this person. Their heart is feeling a lot of social anxiety, maybe even loneliness. Their head tells them, I have to be entertaining all the time or people will think I'm boring and they'll leave. So what's the action? They become the court jester. Always on, overly loud, constantly cracking jokes. And ironically, they make sure no one can ever get close enough for a real conversation.
And for our last case, let's look at the Teflon Partner.
In a relationship, their heart feels hurt. Maybe that old feeling of not being good enough. The head's strategy is instant self-preservation. Vulnerability is a trap. It's dangerous. Close the gates now. So the action we see is this cold, hyper-rational front, maybe using intellectual superiority as a weapon to push their partner away and slowly starve the very intimacy they secretly crave.
So, if that's the problem, what's the solution? How do you actually tear down the facade and build something authentic, something strong in its place? This is what we call the architect's solution for rebuilding your true self.
It's a three-step process, and this is where the real work happens. First, you have to calibrate. This just means acknowledging the insecurity, without judgment. And here's the paradox. The moment you just accept that feeling, I'm scared, or I don't feel good enough, it brings an immediate sense of calm. It lines up your heart and your head. Second, you reprogram. This is where you actively reframe vulnerability. You start to see it not as a weakness, but as your most powerful tool for connection. And third, you find your flow. This is the big shift from acting out of fear to acting from a place of trust in who you really are. You start moving through the world without the mask.
I think this quote just sums up the whole idea perfectly. Who hard must shout that he is the king is no true king. Real, true power never has to announce itself. It's quiet, it's confident, and it's coherent.
All right, let's wrap this all up with a final, really powerful metaphor to contrast the energy of the facade with the energy of an authentic self.
This just says it all, doesn't it? The facade is like a broken strobe light. It's flickering, it's irritating, it's kind of blinding. It's a lot of light, but there's no warmth. It's force without substance. But the authentic self, now that's like a coherent laser. It's focused, it's stable, it's powerful. It invites connection. It has both strength and warmth, power with substance.
So, if you take away just one thing from all of this, let it be this. True strength isn't about puffing out your chest and pretending to be bigger than you are. Your greatest power, your real weapon, is your own internal coherence.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to chew on. You are the architect of your own life. So take a good, hard look at your blueprint. Are you building a temporary facade? Or are you building a monument that's meant to last?